Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Muhammad Aziz bin Jalil and this is my presentation on a case study of the Alibaba conglomerate. I'll be talking to you about about Alibaba, where I'll be first explaining to you the purpose of this presentation or the purpose of this case study. I'll be touching upon the idea of business comprehension and awareness. Now I'll move on to what is Alibaba, what is that company, and who is Jack Ma behind the company, what did he do? And then I'll move on to my three arguments to fully answer the question on how Alibaba stock prices are so lucrative and so valuable. And the first argument we'll be talking about China and how it's very lucrative. Second argument, I'll be talking about market entrance and the speculation before COVID. And then lastly, I will talk about COVID dependence that's happening currently in the world. And finally, I'll be concluding the whole presentation. In my conclusion, I'll be talking about a few personal biases and prejudice so that you can understand where I'm coming from when I answer the question, how and why is Alibaba so successful? So to begin the presentation, we'll first take a look at understanding why I'm presenting about Alibaba. First off, I'd like to teach you and me about market mechanics, more specifically initial public offerings. And secondly, I would like all of us to learn about the process of creating opportunities, the way how Jack Ma and his humble beginnings created Alibaba can be a lesson to learn on how to create opportunities for you and me. And lastly, this presentation today is so that I can touch upon economics and how the financial sector works together or independently, and more specifically, we'll be talking about speculation. So let's talk about Alibaba. What is Alibaba? Alibaba is an e-commerce retail company with over 80% market share in China. This means, with the 1 billion of population that China has, 800 million people in China shops on the Alibaba website. So who is behind Alibaba? It is a man named Jack Ma, who's not anymore the CEO, but now more of an executive, a very high-level executive, who used to be an English teacher, and in 1995 went overseas to the United States and learned about the internet and set himself to try at creating an internet business. And after 4 different attempts, he is successful in creating Alibaba. And the reason why I believe is that he has a very unique personal principle, where first is always the customer, second is the employees, and third is the shareholders. And this philosophy says a lot about the company, because Alibaba managed to monopolize or theft the company, little joke there, the Chinese market, by having 80% of the population because of very, very impressive three variables that Alibaba has. Number one is that Alibaba has no market entry restriction. That means for you to sell your store, to sell your whatever you're selling, to have your store on the Alibaba marketplace, you don't have to pay anything to the company yourself. In contrast to that idea, if you want to open a physical store, you have to pay rent, right? But to open an online store on Alibaba, you don't have to pay anything. You can sell whatever you want to anyone who's willing to buy without paying anything anything to Jack Ma. And this no market entry restriction is very, very in demand by anyone who wants to make business, especially in the Chinese market. But secondly, the reason why Alibaba is so successful is that the company itself has integrated its entire ecosystem. That means a vertical integration from buying the product you see on the website to getting the product from the store that you've bought it from. Alibaba has a hand in it. From Alipay, the online transaction portal that you use on Alibaba, to the China Smart Network, the trucks that sends your goods to your store or to your house, all of it is owned or at least invested by Alibaba. And this creates the third variable that allowed Alibaba to be as successful as it is, even without talking about the three arguments I'll be talking about later. It's very unique business model. So if you don't pay any rent to Alibaba to have your store online, how does Alibaba make its money? Alibaba makes its money by using a very unique business model where they charge you for advertising your store or boosting your ads to the top number one keyword search. So when you go on Google and you put in a keyword, number one option that comes up is usually the most clicked on option. Yes, this is where Alibaba makes their money. For you to be the number one option, you have to pay Alibaba for that service. So this is how Alibaba makes their money on its own marketplace, and the advertising of that allows that it uses on its websites also feeds into the profit margins of Alibaba, especially using the customer to business model where the customers themselves are directly interacting with the business. It's more important for you to get that number one option on the searches for you to beat out your competition. That in itself is the reason why Alibaba is so lucrative, so valuable. Knowing how there's no market entry restrictions that anyone can enter, there's an immense amount of competition for a singular product you're selling. So for you to beat your competitors, obviously you have to be the number one option. So then you have to pay Alibaba for that service because you're afraid of the other competition. Very smart, Alibaba. But before that ignoring that in itself is an argument on why Alibaba is so successful. I'll move on to the first argument on why I think Alibaba is as successful as it is now. It is a Chinese company where it is open to the lucrative market of China. Looking at China by the numbers, you can see by the graph that the percentage of total worldwide e-commerce sales, 60% of it is in China in 2020. In 2018, it's almost 60. So from 2018 to 2020, the e-commerce sales is dominated by the Chinese market. You know why? Because the population of China is immense. There's 1 billion people in China. If you sell an item to everyone in China for $1, let's say a pencil, you make 1 billion in revenue by selling one pencil at $1. That's the amount of market it has. And because the politics of China, because it's a communist market where it is hard for outsiders to enter the market, they only have a very, very limited amount of options. When Alibaba becomes the marketplace for e-commerce in China, if you can get yourself into Alibaba, if you can get a piece of Alibaba, you get yourself a foot into the market. Looking at how valuable the market is, obviously you want to enter it, and Alibaba is the way for you to enter it. Therefore, Alibaba stock prices is extremely valuable because Alibaba is one of the very limited doors for you to enter and invest into the Chinese market. To talk more about that, doors into the Chinese market, we'll be taking a look at market entrance and the speculation. Looking at the graph provided in the questions itself, in the question by you, my lecturer, obviously the first question is why and how did Alibaba beat Facebook, Twitter, and Google? All of these are the companies in terms of the amount of raised in IPO in the initial public offering. So but before answering the question, IPOs are where companies to fund their growth in building more stores or investing more machinery, for instance. They will open their company to ownership by the members of the public. This is called the initial public offering, where they sell their stocks so that you, a member of the public, can buy into the company without working for it. So looking at what I just argued to you in the first argument, how Alibaba is the door to enter the Chinese market, Alibaba opened the door and everyone in the world wants to enter the Chinese market because the amount of demand that Alibaba possesses because of its unique position to be the door into the Chinese market, that's one of the reasons why the speculation of the stock value inflated the price to what you see in the graph right there, 21,800 million USD, because everybody wants a piece of the Chinese market. So in 2014, when finally Alibaba offered its stocks, it had a $25 billion market valuation. Only now, in most recent time, is beat by Saudi Aramco in very similar situations. Saudi Aramco is the only door into one of the biggest oil producers in the world. So that's why when people speculate about the market size in China and how Alibaba controls 80% of the market, people demand more of the stock. People know it's a very valuable company. Investing in it means your money will grow. It leads to the inflation that you see in the early 2014 when it first started off. But when it slowly goes down, this is me talking about deflation, it's either one, the green shoe more stocks so that to meet the demand, so the market is diluted by a lot more Alibaba stocks, slowly the value goes down, or people wises up from the opportunities that they were painted from. How people think, oh, they're going to make so much money, but in reality not so much. So they started selling it off so that you didn't lose a lot more as the market price goes further down. So this is where we look at how the economics, the law of supply and demand, meets the financial sector in terms of stocks. I'm doing a degree in economics, you have to talk about it. But lastly, to talk about what's happening right now because of COVID-19, how its lockdowns all over the world has increased the wealth of major e-commerce players in the world. So because of the lockdowns, how people don't have to go out, people can't go out, people can't buy from physical stores, they have to buy from online stores. This had created a change in mindset and how people see the internet and e-commerce. People now understand how easy it is for you to shop online rather than to shop physical, especially with an imminent threat of COVID-19. And because of COVID-19, how it weakened the market, how stores had to close down, and it's harder for people to sell things, it incentivized the change of moving from physical stores to online stores. And this boost the amount of wealth of all the major e-commerce players. In example, Jack Ma and Jeff Bezos. To further exemplify this, here's a graph of the amount of wealth generated due to COVID-19, and only 6 other companies are more valuable than Alibaba, and all of them, or most of them, are all about technology and the internet. Alibaba, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, and Alphabet. Only Saudi Aramco, like I just talked about, how its IPO was one of the most valued, is currently the biggest IPO in the world. It's the only, natural resource company that's current market valuation is still very high in comparison to all the other in comparison to all the other companies on the graph. So as a conclusion, I've talked to you about how lucrative the Chinese market is. I've showed to you why in the beginning Alibaba's market entrance and how people see it as a market entrance into the Chinese market led to the speculation, the inflation of its price. And because it slowly stabilizes, it deflated its value. But because of COVID-19, from 2018 and above, slowly the price increases because of people changing their needs from physical stores to online stores, and they're talking about the COVID dependence. But in reality, my conclusion of success of Alibaba, and this is where I'm talking about my own personal prejudice and biases, I believe the success of Alibaba is more luck and idea rather than the hard work of Jack Ma. You see, Jack Ma is an English teacher in the 1990s where the internet is slowly disrupting the world we know. It's a disruptive innovation. And because of him being an English teacher, he can speak to the Western investors easier. And because he's a Chinese man in the Chinese market, he was born there by luck, and he became an English teacher by luck, and that led to him becoming one of the richest businessmen in the world. So as much as I've given you 3 arguments for the success of Alibaba, I personally believe Alibaba is as successful as it is now more because of luck an idea rather than hard work.